frankly, I'm a little bit pissed off right now. I'm normally not the kind of person that does this type of video because I'm not that outspoken. But I'm not going to disclose names or the page that I seen this incident. I will say that it's on Facebook, and if you want to look it up, you can look it up. I don't remember word for word what it said, but it really aggravated me the amount of people that agreed with what this person said. Now again, to clarify, I don't know word for word because I just seen it and I don't have another device to look at it. So this girl on Facebook was answering somebody's question about what to do if a horse kicks you. Like, purposely. Not by accident, but purposely. And the reply was, I don't remember word for word, but it was something about put the fear in the horse's eyes. Don't beat that horse, beat its ass. And I don't mean take a rope and hit it. I mean beat that horse's ass. And like all this shit. And it continued on. And it was this post. And there was like 10 comments. It only showed 3. But if you go on the other page, yes, Annabelle. If you go on the other page, there's more people that agree with her. That agreed that beating their horse's ass and putting fear into the horse's eyes was the only way to get a horse to quit kicking. In some cases, you do have to get a little extreme, but I wouldn't necessarily say you need to beat the animal. If you guys have, I don't know if I posted them on Facebook, or on Facebook, on YouTube, I think I have, the food aggressiveness with Rose. She used to kick all the time when she had food. I showed you guys ways to get rid of the kicking. You don't have to beat them. You send them off, work them, figure out what is triggering them to kick. What are you doing, or what are they doing, or what body part are you touching when they kick? Figure out where the root of the issue is first. And it might just be their head horse, in their opinion. You're not the head horse, they're the head horse. So they might just be pushing you. In that case, carry a stock whip with you, like the one that I have, the 12-foot one, kind of thing, and send them off. And if you're cracking the whip and they're not leaving, it's okay to flog them a little bit and kind of pop them on the butt a little bit and kind of get them out of your space. I'm not saying you have to lash them and leave marks and cuts and blood and all that crap, but beating their ass is not acceptable. In certain situations where you're cracking the whip in front of you and they're coming in at you still, yeah, you're gonna have to hit them pretty hard. But you don't need to leave. When somebody says beat, I think of lash marks, blood, cuts, needing stitches, missing hair. If you guys seen Boog's, the video, I'm gonna upload a Boog. He's got a little bit of missing hair on his nose. That's not from me correcting him. That he got the other day playing in the burn pile by himself. But long story short, you don't need to beat them. If you guys seen the food aggression video with Rose, she always has kicked when there's food around. That's just how she is. So I stuck her in a round pen and I put hay down. And when I walked in, the second she flicked that tail, pinned her ears, bowed in towards me, or even out, because sometimes they can go out and then charge at you. Any little movement that she would use against another horse to tell them to back away from her food, the whip got cracked, and I would swing it, and if she didn't move, I'd pop her on the butt with it and send her out. And I'd lunge her 2 or 3 laps. And if she kicked out, I would pop that leg with the whip, not hard, just enough to say, that's not okay, and send her out and make her work hard. And she didn't get to come in and eat until she was relaxed. So when you see things like that, don't automatically assume that person knows what they're talking about. Maybe she didn't mean it that way, but when you type, beat that horse's ass, put the fear in that horse's eyes, what comes to mind is that you are the type that will leave lash marks on your horse, and give them sores and cuts and all that. And that I don't agree with. Somebody else commented on it and said, oh yeah, I had a 3-year-old who was this way. Something about they'd go out to feed and the horse would kick out, and then their mom went out to feed the next day and the horse purposely tried to kick out. And that they agreed. Well, if you're not even trying to figure out the root of the problem, why do you have the horse? With Rose, we figured out it was only with food. With this 3-year-old, maybe it was only with food. Then you need to do the same thing I did. Take some hay in the round pen. You can leave a long line on if you want, and approach and retreat. And every time they give you a little signal you don't like, sit them out and make them work. And they're going to start to figure out it's easier to stand here and ignore them and eat than it is to give them attitude. Somebody else said something about a pony, and how they completely agree to beat their ass, and that's the only way. That is not the only way. I see a lot of YouTubers that are natural horsemanship, or they use the clicker training with the treats, and there's a lot of food aggressive horses that they use clicker training with. And you may have to use your elbow or your fist to kind of back them off if they're nipping on you, but you don't need to beat them. Like, if they're getting pushy, you just ignore them until they turn their head. The second they turn their head or lower their head or stop trying to bug you for treats, you click it and you give them a treat. And that is their way of lunging them around. They ignore them until they get the behavior that they want. Does it always work? No. But there are so many other ways to correct a horse that purposely kicks. I don't think a horse ever purposely kicks. I think they have a little issue that the human doesn't know how to figure out what that issue is and why it's happening and what's causing that issue. There is always an issue behind everything. The video you will see, Boog nipped me when I got on him. You'll see the correction I gave him. He's telling me he's uncomfortable at that moment. Well, too bad. I have to eventually get on him, so I have to correct that behavior. Also, a horse that kicks, I don't believe a horse ever just randomly kicks a random person. They'll start with warnings. Tail swishing, leg cocking, bowing in and out their body, ears pinning, mouth opening, little nips here and there, providing little strikes here and there for kicking. There's always little warning signs that a lot of people miss, and then all of a sudden, oh, my horse just randomly kicked me. No, your horse just slowly showed you these signs, and you ignored it and didn't correct it. This is why when Boog nips once in a while, I give a big correction. Because if you don't, one of these days, he's just going to rip into you with his mouth because he was never corrected. So when you see things like that, I would take it with a grain of salt. You know, I'm not for beating a horse and putting fear into a horse. It's not okay. So, the cats and the dogs are playing. So, that is my take on that. That is my vent. Like I said, I normally don't do these types of videos. I normally don't do like a reaction video to somebody. But I'm leaving their names out. I'm leaving the Facebook page out. I'm leaving the comment people out. And I don't know word for word. So don't take it word for word. But it was for sure, beat the horse's ass. Put the fear in the horse's eyes. That I remember vaguely. Or not vaguely. You guys know what I mean. Anyways, there are other ways to correct it. There are so many YouTubers who train horses. There are so many different ways that each YouTuber trains. They can do natural horsemanship, clicker training, cowboy training, anything you want to call it. And there are so many YouTubers. there's not only one way, like that person said, and that's what pissed me off. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this, and if you see things like that, just know that every time something happens, whether a horse bites you, kicks you, charges you, there are all these little warning signs that you slowly missed. Alright, bye guys.